Hey everyone, Marie McCool here. Sorry, just getting this set up. All right, hi everyone, Marie McCool here. I am a midfielder for Team USA. I play in the WPLL on the Brave, and I also played at the University of North Carolina. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you, Taylor. I'm not sure if you're on, for having me on your channel for a live Q&A. So we actually already have a lot of questions that are already coming in through the chat. So I guess I'll just get started with those. So the first one that I'm going to do is best workout routine ? So I think that there's a lot of different workout routines that we can be doing, especially during our quarantine right now. And I don't know if I have like a best one. I think, like I said, there's a lot of different ones that you should be doing. And I like to switch things up. I don't like to do the same thing every single day because I think it's important to incorporate a lot of different skill work within the workout routine. So I think, obviously we want to practice social distancing and stay home. So we want to be able to find a nice area, either in our backyards, outside, way away from others. I like to do high intensity interval training workouts. I think that it's great for me as a midfielder to get my heart rate up and down, because as midfielders, we all know out there for us midfielders that we are constantly running up and down the field. And so I like to do HIIT training and also weightlifting. It's super, super, super important to make sure that we're lifting weights and doing strength drills in order to make our muscles stronger, not only to perform better, but also to prevent injury. That's a huge, huge reason why we need to do strength training as well. So I don't have a best workout routine. There's a bunch of different ones that I love to do and change it up every single day. Best drill for taking the draw. I was on a video chat yesterday with Taylor and a couple other Team USA members, and I think, one thing that I said is that this is a perfect opportunity for us to be working on our draw work because you don't need anyone to do that. And so practice a lot of wrist strength drills. I think there's actually like a YouTube video on Taylor's channel of one of her draw clinics where you can see some of the wrist strength drills that she teaches and does on a daily basis. As one of the best draw takers in the history of lacrosse and in the country and world right now. She has some good ones out there. So I actually have watched those videos before and done them myself. So thank you, Taylor. And also quick whistles. So if you have a whistle, grab one of your siblings or parents to blow the whistle and practice quickness drills. So I actually have my stick right here because I figured I would have to demo something. But basically what you do is you get set in your position and you have your parents or siblings or whoever you have to blow the whistle. And when they blow the whistle, it's just a quick reaction to the whistle. And then we're bringing it right back into our set position. And our parents or siblings are going to keep blowing the whistle, and we're just practicing on that twist and pop motion. We don't want to practice pushing as hard as we can. We want to focus solely on our quickness for this one to get that ball in the back of our stick and pop it up. Say hi, Maisie. She got excited because I picked up my stick and she thought I was playing with her. Okay, so next question. How do you stay motivated? I like this question because I think that your dog's so cute. Thank you. She's laying at my feet now, wondering why I won't play with her. How do you stay motivated? I think that that's a really good question, especially for the times that we're living in right now. I think that it can be extremely hard to stay motivated because we don't really know what's next. I don't know when I'm going to be able to play again. I don't know when I'm gonna, get invited back to the US team because there's just so much uncertainty right now. And so it can be hard to stay motivated, whereas usually we're working towards something. I know that I have a training weekend in a couple of months, and I know that my fitness isn't exactly where it needs to be. And so that's what motivates me. But what's keeping me motivated is honestly just seeing all of my awesome teammates on Instagram every day. I think something so special about the lacrosse community is that we're all in this together, and everyone's been posting workouts, healthy recipes, and things that they're doing to keep busy and also stay healthy and be ready for whenever that day comes where we get to step on the field again. I joked around with Taylor yesterday that what motivates me is when I wake up in the morning and I go on Instagram and she posted a story that she finished her workout like an hour ago and I just woken up. So I'm like, all right, time for me to go. And so that's really what's been keeping me motivated. So try and connect with your friends. Thank goodness for social media these days and for technology. Do group workouts with your friends via Zoom. I think that having other people surround you is definitely a great way to stay motivated. Best footwork drill, I really like ladder. Hey, stop it. Maisie, stop. She's a guard doggy and she hears the door knocking, but she's super friendly. So where was I? Best footwork drill. I really like ladder drills, and the great thing about ladders is you don't need to like have a ladder to do it. So if you have chalk, like you can draw a ladder in your driveway. And I think that's really great for footwork. Just keep practicing 1 foot in, 2 feet in, side shuffle, Iggy shuffle. I'm sure that you can YouTube a bunch of different ladder drills for that. And I also like to do footwork drills that mimic game-like situations. So I like to put cones out on a field and kind of do some side shuffles as if there was a dodger in front of me, and try to mimic that as well. So J'ing up, which is when we're approaching our defender and breaking down our feet, because I think one of the hardest things of defense is high pressure defense, and your footwork needs to be on point for that. And so the best thing to work on for that is your approaches and breaking down your feet. All right, I'm gonna scroll down here. How do you work on your offhand? So I do a lot of wall ball with my offhand, but this sounds a little like crazy, but also I do a lot of cradling with my offhand. I think like one thing that keeps me from maybe being tentative on Maisie, stop it. Stop. She's eating something over there. Something that like kind of stops me from potentially going to my offhand, whether I'm dodging or shooting or passing, is honestly like I'm not as comfortable with pressure cradling with it. And that's something that I kind of realized recently when I was doing a new wall ball routine, is that like my pump faking just felt so much more uncomfortable in my left hand than it did in my right hand. And so that's why I just think it's so important to practice that first. Not necessarily you're shooting and catching and throwing. I think that's the next step, but I think the first step is practicing just some simple stick work drills like high fake, low fake, bringing it across your body, Twizzlers, like the stick tricky kind of stuff that will get you out of your comfort zone, and then that will ultimately help you with your regular throwing and catching. And then obviously shooting, we want to make sure that we can shoot properly with our offhand and placement. So I do a lot of placement drills with my shooting with my left hand, and I'm really trying to drive my bottom hand, because this is my dominant hand when I'm in my left hand, and really trying to use that dominant hand as much as possible to get power on my shots. Who's your best friend on your WPLL team? Well, I would say like all of them. I love them. I don't really have a best friend because I love them all the same on my WPLL team. I'm very close to Dana Dobie. I always have been. We joke around. She recruited me because she's an assistant coach at Loyola. And when I was in high school, she recruited me pretty heavily. And then she's also in Team Canada, so I played against her at the the World Championships in 2017. And then finally, when I graduated college, we were on the same team. So she's someone who I've always been super close with and looked up to, but they're all my best friends and I love them all. So, how old were you when you started playing lacrosse? I was in 3rd grade, so I guess I was like 7 or 8 maybe. Lacrosse is pretty big in my town. I live in a small town in New Jersey, but it's pretty big, so lacrosse wise, and so I was introduced to it luckily very early, and I was very fortunate to be grow up in a town that lacrosse was huge in, so it's definitely helped me. Best drill for dodging up top. I would say I love the alley dodge drill. So I set up cones and it's like a split dodge down the alley, which means I'm like starting at the middle, I'm working on my split dodge and then just driving down and taking an outside shot, just because as midfielders we tend to find ourselves up top a lot, so I like to practice that. And then I also like to practice a face dodge into the middle, so outside shots and middle shots are my favorite to practice. Any tips on trying to be a walk-on? That's a great question. And my best friend from Carolina actually was a walk-on, and she ended up being a starter defender our senior year and a senior captain. And I think like that's the perfect, she has the perfect story for that, because she's from Chapel Hill. She grew up with North Carolina, UNC being in her backyard, and I think she always wanted to go there because her family members did, and like I said, her family was close by, and she played lacrosse in high school but didn't really get recruited because she was always academics first. And she met with our coach, Jenny Levy, and sat down and expressed her interest, and Jenny went to a couple of our games. And I think like the biggest piece of advice is really just to keep the communication lines open with all the schools that you're interested in, and try and touch base with the coaches, and show them how committed you are to that team. And I think like work hard, and just because you're a walk-on and just because you have the walk-on next to your name doesn't mean that you're never going to step on the field. Like I said, Naomi by her senior year was marking Sam Apuzzo in the ACC championship game and some of the top attackers in the country, and was a captain. So don't ever count anything out, and just make sure you're communicating with all the schools that you are looking to attend, and try and get that coach's attention, and just be honest and keep those communication lines open. Okay. What made you choose UNC over other schools? So I visited 9 schools, which was kind of a lot in my time, like definitely more than others. I took my time with the recruiting process because I was so young. I was only 15, and I wanted to make sure that I was choosing the right school for me. It ended up coming down to Maryland and UNC, either a Terp or Tar Heel. And I think ultimately what made me choose UNC is that it was just my dream school forever. I loved everything about Maryland. I loved everything about UNC, and it was definitely one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life. I had my heart set on UNC after my first visit, and I hadn't visited any schools yet. And then I started visiting more schools. And when I visited Maryland, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the hardest decision ever, because I just instantly fell in love with the team, the coaches, the school. It was close to home. But I think, the fact that Carolina was my dream school for so long, because of Michael Jordan and Mia Hamm, and me just being a sports fan growing up, I had to go with my heart, and that was UNC. So that's ultimately why I chose it. Do you do clinics? Yes, I do. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, because I don't have Taylor Cummings Lacrosse business that I run, and so all of the clinics that I do, I post on my Instagram. I travel across the country to do them, so make sure you're looking to see if I'm coming to your area. It's either with other club programs, other companies. Taylor and I just started our Elite MIDI Clinic series that has been super, super successful so far. We've had so much fun doing it, and I think it's truly the first clinic series that's meant for midfielders that, helps people develop skill sets from a huge range of different things that middies need to, rather than just focusing on shooting or rather than just focusing on defense. We've really tried to implement a really broad scope of skill work in these clinics. And so unfortunately we had to cancel a couple due to COVID-19, but once all of this is over and things return back to normal, we're definitely going to be picking right back up where we started with those and hopefully coming to an area near you. So follow us on Instagram, and make sure you check out our clinics. They're super fun and they go by so fast because we have a lot of fun with it. Is lacrosse more of a fitness game or a brain game? So that's a great question. I think that absolutely you have to be fit if you want to play lacrosse, but it is just as much a mental game as it is fitness. So make sure, mentally you have to be prepared to know what you're stepping into when you play, I think, any sport. And that's honestly like what I say about anything in life. And make sure that you're doing what you can to mentally stay healthy and active. And I think like you could be the most fit player in the world or have the best stick work, but unfortunately mentally, if you're not there, it could definitely prevent you from performing at your peak performance. So definitely super important to make sure that you have a positive attitude and your mental game is on point when you want to play, I think, any sport. Was it fun playing at UNC? Yes, I miss it every single day. I was actually talking to one of my friends from UNC who I graduated with, who's a nurse now. I texted her last night just to remind her how thankful I am for her during these times, and she responded back and was like, oh, like, you made my day, and I just can't believe it. Like, I feel like just 2 years ago we spent every single day together. Like, I just miss everyone, and like it really hit home to me, like just how lucky I was to be a part of a program that meant so much to me, and like we're a family. So it was super fun, and obviously playing and being a part of 3 ACC championships and a national championship was something I'll never forget. But the relationships that you build from being a part of a program like that, I think I could say that for every lacrosse program in this country, is something that's going to last forever, and you definitely want to cherish those moments. So super fun. What athlete do you look up to the most? That is a good question. There are so many athletes out there. So when I was younger, Mia Hamm was really the only athlete that we had exposure to growing up, because women's sports just weren't televised much and there wasn't as much exposure as there was on the men's side. And so Mia Hamm was really the only female athlete that I knew when I was a young girl, and that's why I wanted to go to UNC. I actually played soccer before lacrosse and thought that I was going to be some soccer star at UNC and then play on the national team. And then I was introduced to lacrosse. But I think now, like, honestly, all of them, and that's why like social media can be such a amazing thing, is that it gives me the opportunity to see so many different athletes that I look up to. I think, the whole U.S. women's national team, Megan Rapinoe, Abby Wambach, all of them. And I follow every single one of them on Instagram, and just to see what they're doing, on the women's side is so amazing, because I think like things were definitely different. I mean, 2 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. And so just to see them fight for what's right and what they deserve is super inspiring. And I hope that we can all, take a page out of their book and also do the same for lacrosse, because I think we definitely deserve to be there as well. How can I work on my split dodge? That's a great question. So like I said, that earlier drill, my favorite dodge from up top, I set up 3 cones. Let's see, do I have a pen here? No, I don't. I have paper, but no pen. I set up 3 cones in like a triangle, and what I try to do is I attack that front cone, and then I take a quick jab step to the side cone, and then switch hands and down on an angle. The biggest piece for the split dodge is we're not just approaching a defender and switching hands. We're dodging, and we're making sure that we're really jab stepping down on an angle one day, north-south, not sideways, east-west. So down on an angle, and then switching hands, and again taking another step with our right foot, if I'm going left to right, down at an angle and exploding out of it and staying on one line. So that's a great way to work on it. I work on it every single time I go to the field, because that's my main dodge, is the split dodge down the alley. And so doesn't matter how great you are or how great you think you are at it, there's always room for improvement. And the more repetition you get, the more muscle memory it's going to be, and the better you're going to be at it. Is playing for a club team important for being recruited? I mean, I'm not a college coach, so I don't want to answer this question like 100, like I don't think I have the 100% sure correct answer for this, but what I will say is when I was being recruited, it was important. However, I think that there's so many other ways to get recruited nowadays because there's showcase events, there's college camps that you can go to that have like 10 other D1 to D3 schools attending those camps, and it gives you a way to get yourself in front of those coaches. I actually got recruited by UNC at the UNC camp, not necessarily at my club tournaments, but I think like club tournaments gave me a lot of exposure to different coaches. So for me, yeah, I think it definitely was important, but I would say there are definitely other ways to get recruited if there's not like a club team near you, or if you can't afford it, because I know it's super expensive, or if you just don't have access to one, there are definitely other ways to get recruited. But yeah, I think it's pretty important. How many behind the back goals have you scored? 0. I'm not like a tricky person. However, I do practice my behind the backs every single day and my stick tricks because I think it helps me overall with my stick work. But I'm still waiting for the day, and I think it'll happen soon. I just got to get it in my muscle memory. Good advice for midfielders. So best advice from midfielders would definitely be to make sure you're practicing everything. Going back to like the clinics that Taylor and I are doing, the reason why we thought of this idea is because we felt that, I think Taylor and I both pride ourselves on being two-way players, and that's kind of how we got to where we are. And there's very, very few players who are two-way players, and what that means is that you're not only great on the offensive end, but you're great on the defensive end all the way through transition. And I think that our game is definitely lacking that as the younger generations come up, because now the game's faster and people are running A mids and D mids, and we all want to score goals, and so I think like the best advice for me for all of you midfielders is make sure you're doing both. I think if you can be a great two-way midfielder, like you are guaranteeing your spot on a team, and like there's no doubt about that. I think that it's super important to know how to do everything, especially if you want to be a midfielder. Because like I said, there's very few of them. So if you can do it, then you're definitely going to get noticed and contribute heavily to the team that you're on. You might not score the most goals, you might not have the most points or assists, but you'll definitely be a key part for your team. Do you push, pull, or self-draw? I self-draw, so I take it with my left hand, and I face the same way as someone who would be pushing, so I face my defensive end, and I try and dig it out of their stick and pop it up to me in front and then grab it with one hand. Best way to become a good defender as a midfielder. So going back to what I just said about being two-way defenders is do a lot of defensive footwork, but also like in college for me, I definitely spent more time at practices focusing on like offensive stuff, and not just like because I personally chose to. It's just the drills that we do were a lot of like offensive minded drills, so man up, man down, and we would work on our offensive sets, and while we were working on offensive plays, our defense would be on the other side of the field, and we would switch as middies. But obviously as a midfielder, since you have to do both, like you're not spending as much time on one side as you are on the other. And so I took a lot of time before and after practice to grab someone to work on my defensive footwork. So just like a dummy dodger that would work on like dodging in and re-dodging, and it doesn't have to be full speed. It's a lot of like 50% just to work on that footwork, and like I said earlier, approaches. So you just want to be able to take extra time to do that and do them with your teammates. And I also try to get as many 1v1s in as possible, because as midfielders, we are the ones that are marking the 1v1 dodgers from up top, and that's really important as well. How did it feel to win a WPLL championship? It was awesome, especially because we lost the year before, and I was convinced that we were going to win that game that day, and I just don't really know what happened when we lost the first year, because we were undefeated, And it just truly shows that any team can win on any given day. So no matter what your record was in the past or what you think going into a game, you know, each opponent that you play is going to bring their toughest game. And so you never want to, you know, get ahead of yourself and be, you know, and look down to a team. And I think that's what happened to us that day. And so, you know, coming back and winning, especially against the Fight, a team that basically is my entire U.S. women's team. You know, they were such an incredible team. You know, Kayla Trainer, Taylor Cummings, Zoe Stukenberg, Katrina Dowd, Kylie O'Miller, Sam Apuzzo, like the list just goes on. And we were winning, and then we were losing by like 4, I think, with 11 minutes left, and that's when I started to get a little bit down on myself. And so I think just to like come back and, you know, be a part of a team that never let down no matter what is like the best feeling in the world. So it was definitely a lot of fun. What are some good defensive drills that we can do at home since we're all stuck at home for a while? I can give my girls 100 stick work and shooting drills, but no defense. So, like I said, ladder drills can be really good for this. And if you don't have a ladder, chalk and just draw one in your driveway, and then just they can YouTube different footwork drills that you can do with the ladder. There's a ton of different ones. That's the easiest one. And then I think like other defensive drills that I work on, I know I said this again, but you might have not been on it earlier when I talked about it, is approaches. And so we call them J'ing up, but when the ball's passed in the air, you have to approach your your attacker, and break down your feet. And I think that's one of the hardest parts about playing defense, especially in a high pressure defense. So really focusing on approaching the defender in the correct way, breaking down your feet, and then slide shuffling. And I think that's a really great defensive drill. And yeah, they can be creative with it. Reaction drills. You can record yourself saying left, right, back, and they can do the drill where they side shuffle and then you say back, and it's a crossover run backwards, sprint forward, side shuffle. That's another drill that I do a lot, and you can record yourself doing it for the girls, and you can do a team Zoom defensive drill session. What stick do you use and why do you love it? So I change my stick up depending on the situation. The stick that I have with me today, I'll show you because it's the only stick I brought with me, but this is the Brine Dynasty Elite 3. So I have the Lax Pocket Rail Elite strung in it. I love it. And the reason why I like this stick is because it's really sturdy. I take the draw, and so it's sturdy for the draw. You want to make sure that you have something that won't be flimsy or bend when you are taking the draw, because you want to be able to, you know, have good pressure with and control. And then it also has really good, like, it has a good lip, so you can see here for the draw, it's really good for the ball to see that. So the ball just sits in there when I take the draw, so I really like that lip. And then also really good for ground balls and everything. It has a really nice scoop, and so for a midfielder who is all over the field, I think this is all around like a really solid stick for that. And then this is the Brine Warp Shaft, super light, so I really like that. And yes, I do use the Warp Mid as well. I just don't have it with me, and it's not approved yet by the FIL for US, so the stick that I have been practicing with is for the US team because this is the one that I'll be using. But the Warp Mid, definitely great for midfielders as well. Do you think lacrosse needs more diversity? Yes, I'm actually 50% Asian and 50% Irish. So for me, being someone who is diverse and not part of the typical, I guess, what people think of when they think of lacrosse players is white people, and I think like it's definitely can be more diverse. However, the progress that I've seen over the past couple of years is incredible, and I think that lacrosse is on the path of becoming a more diverse sport, and it makes me super happy. And you know, I've been volunteering with Harlem Lacrosse too, and the people who I was on a call the other day, and I think they said that 98% of or 99% are minority, and I think like to see the progress that nonprofit has made and the people who are going to Division 1 to play lacrosse is awesome. So I think we're on a great path. Can it be more diverse? Yes, but I'm really, really happy with the progress that's happened in the past couple of years. Will you go to WPLL Futures? Right now, yes, it's on my calendar. Hopefully, cross our fingers that it's still going on. However, there obviously are tryouts that all got canceled for Futures, so I'm not sure how we're going to make those up. I'm sure that the WPLL is figuring out different ways to do that, but if all goes planned, I should be there. So someone asked, since you put an emphasis on being able to play defense, which is often overlooked, would you ever consider doing defensive clinics? So the reason why we do the midi clinic too is like not only is it great for middies, but I think like defenders at the high school age should learn how to play everything. And the reason why I say that is because I know a lot of defenders who were turned into midfielders as soon as they got to college because they're the most athletic players on the field, and we need more two-way middies. And I think, in my opinion, it's easier to turn a defender into a midi than attacker into a midi because defense is pretty complicated. And so I always encourage defenders to get out of their comfort zone and practice shooting and practice midfield drills because I think it'll be extremely helpful in the recruiting process. I am not a college coach, like I said, but I definitely know I can speak on behalf of a lot of college coaches. Really what they're looking for is the most athletic, gritty, hard workers on the field because they know they can shape them into the players that they believe they want to in order to be successful in college. So I highly encourage all defenders to get out of their comfort zone and practice shooting drills and attacking drills and kind of do everything. What club team did you play for? I played for South Jersey Select. Would you ever want to run a marathon? Yes, I was actually supposed to run the New York Half Marathon in March. Unfortunately, got canceled, obviously, due to COVID-19. I was really bummed out about it, but I understand that, you know, thousands and thousands of people in one area is not safe at all. And obviously with the situation that we're in right now, it's so important for all of us to stay home. And so I'm upset about that, but I have the rest of my life to run half. So I'm excited to sign up in the future. And the New York City Marathon, it's the 50th anniversary this year. I actually was offered a spot to run on behalf of Harlem Lacrosse, but since I'm training for the US team, I know that it's definitely not the best for my body. I want to make sure that I am staying healthy, and running a marathon takes a huge toll on your body because you have to train for it, you have to run it, and then you have to recover. And I have US training weekends kind of on the outskirts of that, and I want to, my number one priority is to, you know, make the US team and play for our country. So once all of that's said and done and I decide to hang the cleats up, then I will definitely be training for a marathon and running on behalf of Harlem Lacrosse in the New York City Marathon. Do you remember how you felt during the U.S. women's tryouts, U19? Well, I did not try out for U19 because I couldn't, because I was either too young or too old. I kind of missed that opportunity. But now that they changed the rules, no one should miss that because now you can try out. You don't have to be too old to try out. You can have a year of college under your belt. But for the U.S. team, I actually was I was 18 when I tried out for the U.S. senior team, the U19 team was actually competing that summer, but I couldn't try out, like I said. So when I tried out for the U.S. team, I wasn't that nervous because I was kind of only trying out. I just finished my freshman year of college, and I kind of only tried out because my coach Phil told me to, and I was like, "You're crazy, Phil," and he's like, "What? It's a great experience, Marie. Just do it." And I was like, "Okay, that would be cool to play with, Taylor Cummings, Kayla Trainer." because I was not friends with them yet. Like, I just knew Taylor from playing against her and watching her when I was in high school and she was at Maryland. And I was like, you're right, like, it's a great opportunity. So I went to tryouts, and I really just didn't have that many expectations. And so I just want to have fun with it. And I think, when I'm having fun and not worrying about things, that's when I'm playing my best. And I think that's ultimately what, helped me make the team that weekend. So I was a little nervous, but I was really excited. And at the end of the day, like, no matter what the result was, it was awesome to be in the presence of some of the best players in the world and just suit up side by side. Do you think it's I'll have a couple, we have a couple more questions and then we'll start to wrap up. But do you think it's better for kids to specialize or play multiple sports? So I think it's best for kids to play multiple sports, and I'm a huge, huge, huge supporter of that. I think pretty much everyone on the US team was a multi-sport athlete growing up, and that's ultimately why we are the players that we are today. I think, focusing on one sport can definitely cause burnout, and obviously we don't want that to happen, just mentally and physically. It's really tough. And playing multiple sports always gave me something to look forward to. When it was soccer time, I was so excited to be reunited with my soccer teammates and play a different sport. And then when soccer season ended, I shifted my focus to basketball, and then basketball ended and I shifted my focus to lacrosse. And I think, just having something to look forward to just keeps it so fun and interesting, and just being a part of different teams and having different relationships was something that I will always remember from high school, and I still miss soccer to this day. So I really think it's important to play multiple sports and not to focus on one sport, because like I said, I've been burnt out before from lacrosse, and it's not a good feeling. And I just don't think that, we need to focus on one sport, especially when we're young. Favorite quarantine guilty pleasure TV binge show. I've been baking a lot, so that's been fun. And cooking, again, I post everything on my Instagram. And TV binge, I watched All American in one day, and then I also have been watching, obviously I watched Tiger King, I've been watching Ozarks, but other than that, like, I'm not really a huge Netflix watcher, and so I've definitely been watching the most Netflix in my life right now, and it's kind of fun. My favorite TV show binge is Stranger Things, so I just want Stranger Things to come out early, but I don't know if that's possible because I don't know if they finished filming. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. Wall ball routine. I change it up every time, but I do high fake, low fake, pass. Well, first I start out just quick sticks, 20 right, 20 left, 20 offside left. Then I do high fake, low fake, pass, left hand, high fake, low fake, pass. Then I do back, high fake, low fake, swoop across, behind the back, both right and left hand. I do some high fake sidearms. So I switch it up every time and try to include everything. Is there WPL futures for 2027? I don't think they have it for middle school. So I don't think so. But everything can be found on the website. So if you just look and see, then I don't think it's there. What grade should you start contacting coaches, and do you have recruiting tips? So I don't know. I would probably say like sophomore year, I guess, right before they're allowed to speak to you, because they can't contact you back or anything. So, but that's probably the year that they start looking and recruiting you. So that's probably when. And then my tip is just to make sure that you can only control certain things, and so make sure that you're controlling what you can control, which is your attitude, your work ethic. And I think that's really some main qualities that coaches look for in an athlete. And just work hard and be you, and don't worry about mistakes, because we all make them. Even at the US level, we make them every other minute. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, and yeah, work hard. Someone keeps asking me how I deal with the fact that I'm a female and will never be taken serious as an athlete, but like I don't think that's true. So I don't really deal with it because I'm very proud to be a female athlete. And I think that we all do need to be taken seriously. And I'm just, I never would wish that I was a male athlete. And like I said, I'm super proud to be a female and be a female athlete. So it's fun, and obviously I think that we've made a lot of progress over the past couple of years, and there's a lot more progress to be made, but I'm confident with those who are leading the charge with that in women's sports, and excited to see what the future holds. All right. Girl power, that's right. Okay, so we'll do one more question and then I'll head out. Let me just look for one. Here's a good one. Do college coaches look at academics too? Yes. You cannot just rely on your lacrosse abilities or athletic abilities. Make sure that you're doing your homework, make sure you're studying, make sure you're keeping your grades up, because even if maybe there's a school that's your absolute dream school and you might not be there yet lacrosse wise, but you have the grades, you might get a spot on the team because of your academics. So always focus on your academics, and it's super important when you're getting recruited. What is the one coaching piece of advice you received that you remember today? I think there's so many, but one that's just like sticking out in my head right now is be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think we often shy away from uncomfortable positions in life, and it's really hard to get better if we're not taking risks. And with risks, like, you are uncomfortable because it's not something that you're used to, whether it's just a simple stick trick drill or it's a dodge or anything in life. In order to be successful, we need to take risks and fail, and that's how we'll learn. So be comfortable being uncomfortable. Super important, and I think I'm going to end with that one. So thank you all for joining Taylor's YouTube live today. It was so much fun. Thank you, Taylor, for having me, and I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question. There were a lot on here, and so I was just trying to pick out some that would be useful for all of you to hear my insight on. And so if there's any other questions that I didn't get to that you are curious about, feel free to DM me on Instagram at MarieMcCool4. If you're interested in clinics, make sure you follow me. As soon as this corona is over, I will be definitely, trying to run as many clinics as possible, because I miss all of you guys, and I miss playing, and I miss coaching and doing what I love. So again, DM me if you have any questions that I didn't get to. So thanks again. Bye, everyone.